The champagne glass shattered. Then his hand connected with her face. 7 months pregnant. Designer gown. 300 witnesses. And Grace's billionaire husband just slapped her at his cousin's wedding. But here's what Dominic didn't know. 16 security cameras captured everything. Every angle, every moment, every lie he was about to tell. And when those cameras reached his father, a self-made billionaire who built an empire on integrity, everything Dominic had was about to disappear. This is the story of one slap, one video, and one father's choice that destroyed a family legacy forever. Because sometimes doing the right thing costs everything, and sometimes the security footage changes everything. Stay with me. This one's going to hurt, but I promise it's worth it. The champagne flute shattered against marble. Then Grace felt his hand connect with her face. The orchestra kept playing. Mozart, something light and celebratory. The kind of music wealthy people paid thousands of dollars for without ever really listening. Grace's head snapped sideways. Her cheek burned. The baby kicked hard inside her belly, startled by the sudden violence. 7 months along, and her daughter already knew something was wrong. Everything stopped. The string quartet faltered mid-phrase. 300 guests in designer gowns and custom suits turned to stare. Conversations died. The clinking of crystals ceased. Even the fountains seemed to pause. Grace stood frozen near the rose garden fountain. Emerald silk draped over her pregnant belly. $7,000 for a maternity gown she'd wear once. Dominic insisted. The Ashford family had standards. Her hand flew to her stomach. Protective, instinctive. The baby kicked again. Harder this time. Dominic's face shifted instantly. The rage vanished. Concern bloomed across his features like a mask sliding into place. Perfect. Practiced. He'd worn this mask before. "Honey, I'm so sorry," he said, reaching for her. "You stumbled. Let me help you." Grace jerked back. Her heels caught on the stone patio. She steadied herself against the fountain's edge. "I didn't stumble." Her voice came out stronger than she expected. Clear, certain, the first real words she'd spoken all evening that weren't scripted pleasantries. Dominic's eyes flashed a warning, just for a second. The mask slipped. Then it was back. Worry, love, the devoted husband catching his pregnant wife before she fell. "You're confused," he said softly, tenderly, for the audience watching them. "The pregnancy, you've been so dizzy lately." He stepped closer. His hand reached for her elbow. She pulled away. "Don't touch me." Harper appeared at her side, her best friend since college, the only person at this wedding who'd seen what really happened. Harper's bridesmaid dress, pale pink chiffon, rustled as she moved between Grace and Dominic. "Grace, are you okay? I saw." "She fainted," Dominic interrupted. His smile never wavered. "The heat, the pregnancy hormones. You know how it is." But Harper's face showed the truth. She'd seen. She'd watched Dominic's hand pull back, watched it connect with Grace's face, watched Grace's head snap sideways from the force. The guests whispered. Grace could see it happening, the narrative forming, taking shape, spreading like wildfire through the reception. Poor pregnant woman. So emotional. Probably fainted. Lucky her husband was there to catch her. Only 3 people knew the truth. Grace, Harper, and Dominic. Except that wasn't quite right. Above them, mounted on stone pillars and tucked into garden arbors, 16 security cameras recorded every angle of the Ashford estate. Every moment, every movement, every slap. Grace's hand trembled as she touched her cheek. Already swelling. By tomorrow, it would bruise. She knew from experience how to cover bruises with makeup. Wait, she knew from experience. The thought hit her like cold water. She knew how to hide bruises because she'd done it before. Multiple times. The carefully applied concealer, the strategic angles in photos, the excuses that came too easily. I walked into a cabinet door. I'm so clumsy lately. The pregnancy makes me dizzy. All lies, all covering for Dominic's accidents. Natalie Ashford materialized beside her son, Dominic's mother's society queen. Pearls gleaming at her throat, diamonds in her ears, $60,000 in jewelry just for a cousin's wedding. "Darling," Natalie said, addressing Grace with practiced sympathy, Let's get you inside. You need to rest. The baby. Don't. Grace's voice cut through the murmurs. Don't you dare talk about my baby. Natalie's mouth tightened, just slightly. The perfect hostess expression never quite faltering. Grace, I know you're upset, but causing a scene at Meredith's wedding? The family? Your son hit me in front of 300 people. The words hung in the garden air. Real, undeniable, at least to Grace. Natalie stepped closer, lowered her voice. The crowd couldn't hear, but Grace saw the calculation in her eyes. You fainted, dear. Dominic caught you. Several guests have already confirmed it. Senator Morrison's wife saw the whole thing. She said Dominic moved so quickly to catch you. Such a devoted husband. The gaslighting was immediate, coordinated, efficient. Grace looked at the faces around her. The guests, the family, Dominic's business associates, everyone who mattered in their world. Everyone who could destroy Dominic's reputation with a single word. And every single one of them was choosing to believe the lie. I'm not leaving with him, Grace said. Dominic's mask slipped again. His jaw tightened. Eyes went cold. The real Dominic, the one she'd been living with for 3 years. You're my wife, he said quietly. You're carrying my child. You're leaving with me. Now. No. The word felt foreign in her mouth. She couldn't remember the last time she'd said no to Dominic. Really said it. Meant it. Maybe she never had. Natalie glanced around. Guests were staring. Phones were out. In the age of social media, every scandal was one video away from going viral. We'll discuss this tomorrow, Natalie said firmly. When you're thinking clearly, Dominic, take your wife home. Grace needs rest. They left, both of them, walking away as if Grace hadn't just refused, as if her no meant nothing. Harper's hand found Grace's, squeezed tight. I saw him hit you, Harper whispered. I'll testify. I'll tell anyone who'll listen. Grace looked at her best friend, sweet Harper, who believed in justice, in truth, and doing the right thing. Harper, who didn't understand how money worked, how power worked, how the Ashford family made problems disappear. They won't listen, Grace said. They never do. But Harper was already pulling out her phone, texting someone, her face determined. Then we get proof they can't ignore. Above them, mounted on 16 different angles, the security cameras had already recorded everything. Grace's hand rested on her belly. The baby moved beneath her palm, rolling, stretching, completely unaware that her father had just hit her mother, completely unaware that everything was about to change. Mirror technique moment. Grace's hand automatically covers her belly. The same protective gesture every mother knows. The baby kicks against her palm as if saying, I felt that too. That instinctive movement, that immediate need to shield. Every pregnant woman understands it without explanation. The orchestra started playing again. The wedding continued. Meredith and Vincent cut their cake. Guests returned to their conversations. The Ashford machine moved forward, but Grace stood by the fountain, hand on her cheek, and knew with absolute certainty that she couldn't go home tonight. She couldn't go back to the penthouse, couldn't sleep in their bed, couldn't pretend this was normal, couldn't keep making excuses. I'm not crazy. I know what happened. His hand, my face, the baby's kick. I know. The validation whispered through her mind. Quiet, certain, real. For the first time in 3 years, Grace believed herself more than she believed Dominic's lies. Grace locked herself in the bridal suite. Harper stood guard outside. The wedding reception continued 2 floors below. Music drifted up through elegant hallways. Laughter, celebration, life moving forward while Grace's world crumbled. She stared at her reflection in the antique mirror. Elaborate gold frame, probably worth more than most people's cars. The Ashford estate didn't do anything small. Red mark blooming across her cheekbone. By tomorrow it would turn purple, then yellow, then fade like it never happened. Except it did happen, and Grace was done pretending. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She gripped the marble countertop, tried to breathe. The bathroom was larger than her first apartment. Heated floors, rainfall shower, fresh flowers in crystal vases. All that money, all that luxury, and she'd never felt more trapped. 3 times she reached for her phone. Lock screen, Unlock, lock, unlock, lock. Who could she call? Her mother lived 3 states away, would tell her to come home immediately, would say she never trusted Dominic, would be right about everything Grace didn't want to hear. The police? The Ashfords owned half the city. Dominic's lawyer used to be the attorney general. Money bought silence. Money bought cooperation. Money made problems disappear. A knock at the door, soft, tentative. Grace? Harper's voice. Can I come in? Grace unlocked the door. Harper slipped inside carrying ice wrapped in a white cloth napkin, monogrammed with the Cross family crest. Everything at this wedding was monogrammed. Here. Harper pressed the ice against Grace's cheek. We need to get you out of here. My car's parked. He'll follow me home. Then don't go home. Grace touched her parental, her daughter. Doobie in all ways, Dominic's child, his heir, the grandchild Richard Ashford called his legacy. Richard, Dominic's father, the self-made billionaire, steel mills in Pennsylvania, real estate in Manhattan, tech investments that made him one of the wealthiest men in America. Would Richard believe her? Would he care? I have nowhere to go, Grace said. The truth of it settled in her chest, heavy, suffocating. She'd left her job when she married Dominic. He insisted. Said his wife didn't need to work. Said he'd take care of everything. He took care of everything by making sure she had nothing of her own. No income, no apartment, no independence. Just his name and his money and his control. The door handle rattled. Dominic's voice filtered through. Smooth, concerned. The mask firmly in place. Grace, baby, can we talk? I'm so sorry, the stress of the merger, the company. I wasn't myself. He was never himself. That was the whole problem. Grace had married a man who didn't exist. A charming facade, a carefully constructed performance. The real Dominic was the one who got angry when dinner wasn't ready, who criticized her weight during pregnancy, who accidentally stepped on her foot when she talked too long to another man, who hid her prenatal vitamins and said she was imagining things when she couldn't find them. Harper mouthed one word, don't. But Grace knew how this worked. If she didn't open the door, Dominic would get a key. He always got what he wanted. That was the Ashford way. She opened the door 6 inches, kept the chain engaged. Dominic's face was perfectly arranged. Remorse painted across his features like an actor hitting his mark. Behind him, Natalie hovered, battle armor pearls gleaming. Darling, please, Dominic said. Let me explain. The whiskey, I had too much. You know I don't drink well. I never meant to. You hit me on purpose. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Calculation, measuring his next move. I was trying to steady you. You were falling. I grabbed for you, and you pulled your hand back and slapped me across the face. That's not what happened. That's exactly what happened. Natalie interrupted. Her voice carried that particular tone wealthy women perfected, sympathetic but firm, caring but dismissive. Grace, sweetheart, you've been under so much stress. The pregnancy, the hormones, you're not thinking clearly. Why don't you come home? We'll call Dr. Mitchell, make sure the baby's okay. Everything will look better in the morning. Everything will look better once we control the narrative. That's what Natalie really meant. Grace had watched the Ashford family operate for 3 years, watched them handle scandals and setbacks with surgical precision. An employee accused Dominic of sexual harassment. The employee suddenly had a new job across the country and signed a non-disclosure agreement. A business deal went bad. The other party found themselves facing mysterious legal troubles. The Ashfords didn't lose. They couldn't afford to. I'm not going home with him, Grace said. Dominic's mask cracked. Just a fraction. His hand moved toward the door, aggressive, threatening. Then he caught himself, remembered the setting, remembered the guests 2 floors below. You're being irrational, he said, embarrassing yourself, embarrassing the family. My father won't tolerate this kind of scene. Your father isn't here. He will be. And when he hears how you've behaved, when he hears I refuse to leave with the man who hit me, when he hears you fainted at a family wedding and caused a scene instead of going home quietly. There it was, the script, the story they'd tell. Grace fainted. Grace caused a scene. Grace was the problem. Not Dominic's hand, not the slap, not the violence. Grace's reaction to the violence. Natalie stepped forward. Grace, think about Charlotte. Grace froze. They'd chosen the name last month. Charlotte Rose Ashford, after Dominic's grandmother. A family name, a family legacy. What about her? She needs her father. She needs stability. A united family. You wouldn't want to deprive your daughter of that, would you? Of growing up as an Ashford? With every advantage money can provide. The threat was clear, gentle, wrapped in concern, but a threat nonetheless. Leave Dominic and lose everything. The name, the money, the future they'd promised Charlotte. Stay and keep the illusion intact. Get away from my door, Grace said. She closed it, locked it, engaged the chain, leaned against the wood and listened to Dominic and Natalie walk away, their footsteps fading down the marble hallway. Harper pulled out her phone. I texted Owen Grant. Who? The security director here. I coordinated with him for the wedding. He's good people, honest, and he has 3 daughters. Harper looked up. He'll help. Grace wanted to believe that, wanted to believe someone would help, but the Ashfords had been teaching her for 3 years that no one helped. No one stood up to them. No one risked their career or reputation or safety to do the right thing. Money made sure of that. Validation, whisper. I'm not crazy. I know what happened. His hand, my face, the baby's kick, I know. The words repeated in Grace's mind like a mantra, like something solid to hold on to when everything else felt like quicksand. The baby kicked, strong, healthy, completely dependent on Grace to protect her. Grace slid down to sit on the floor, designer gown pooling around her, $7,000 of silk and lace crumpled against bathroom tile. Harper sat beside her, held her hand, didn't try to fix anything, just sat there. I can't go back, Grace whispered. Then you won't. I have nowhere else to go. We'll figure it out. He'll destroy me, his family, the lawyers, the money. They'll take Charlotte. They won't. You don't know them like I do. Harper squeezed her hand. No, but I know you, and you're stronger than you think. Grace wasn't sure about that. Strength felt like something other people had. People who left abusive marriages. People who stood up to billionaires. People who didn't spend 3 years making excuses for bruises. But maybe Harper was right. Maybe somewhere beneath the fear and doubt and carefully constructed excuses, Grace had strength she didn't know about. Or maybe she'd find out. Mirror technique moment. Grace reaches for her phone again. Lock, unlock, lock, unlock, lock. That compulsive checking. That nervous habit when anxiety spikes. Anyone who's ever been in crisis knows this motion. The phone becomes something to do with your hands. Something to control when nothing else feels controllable. Outside the bathroom window, the wedding continued. Dancing and toasts. The bride and groom looking perfectly happy. Their future stretching ahead full of promise and hope. Grace's future felt like a cliff edge. One step forward and everything would shatter. But staying felt like dying slowly. So maybe the cliff edge was better. Maybe falling was better than drowning. 3 days later, Grace sat in a coffee shop 12 blocks from the Ashford penthouse, far enough that Dominic wouldn't accidentally see her. Close enough she could still pretend her life was normal. Nothing about her life was normal anymore. Her cheek had yellowed to a bruise she covered with concealer. 3 layers, carefully blended. She'd gotten good at hiding bruises over the years. Too good. That realization kept hitting her at odd moments. In the shower, making breakfast, lying awake at 3 in the morning. She'd gotten skilled at covering evidence of abuse because there had been so much evidence to cover. How had she not seen it? Or maybe she had seen it. Maybe she'd just gotten really good at not seeing it, at explaining it away, at making excuses. A man slid into the seat across from her, early 30s, wearing a security company uniform. Owen Grant, Harper's contact. Mrs. Ashford. He nodded, professional, careful. I'm risking my job being here. Then why are you? Because I have 3 daughters. He pulled out a tablet, set it on the table between them, and I saw what happened. Grace's hand trembled as she reached for her coffee. Decaf. She'd switched when she got pregnant, given up caffeine and alcohol and soft cheese and everything else on the forbidden list. She'd given up so much to be the perfect wife, the perfect mother, and Dominic had hit her anyway. Owen tapped the tablet screen. Security footage loaded, multiple camera angles, crystal clear, high definition. Grace watched herself stand by the fountain, watched Dominic approach, watched his hand pull back, watched it connect with her face. No stumble, no feint, no confusion, just violence. Her stomach turned. Seeing it from outside her body made it real in a way the memory couldn't. The memory she could doubt, question, wonder if she'd imagined or exaggerated, but video didn't lie. There are 16 camera angles, Owen said quietly, all showing the same thing. Your husband's lawyer contacted us within an hour of the incident, offered $50,000 for the drives. You didn't take it. I have daughters, he repeated. When I refused, they offered $200,000. When I still refused, they said they'd get a warrant. They probably will, but I made copies first. He slid the tablet across the table. This one's yours. Do with it what you need. Grace stared at the screen. 16 angles of the worst moment of her life. 16 pieces of evidence that couldn't be explained away or gaslit into something else. There's more, Owen said. Audio from the valet station, your husband and his mother, after you locked yourself in the bridal suite. He pressed play. Dominic's voice. No longer smooth or charming. Raw. Angry. The real Dominic that only Grace usually heard. That bitch is making me look bad. I don't care if she's pregnant. She needs to learn her place. Natalie's response. Calm. Practical. Enabling. Handle it quietly. Your father can't know about this. The merger with Westbrook is too important. We can't afford scandal right now. Fuck the merger. She's my wife, my property. I'll handle her however I want. Dominic, please be smart about this. Pay her off if you need to. Make her sign something, but keep it quiet. Grace's hands shook. Coffee sloshed over the rim of her cup. She set it down before she dropped it. She'd known Dominic thought those things, felt those things. But hearing him say it out loud, hearing his mother help him plan how to handle her, it broke something inside Grace that she hadn't known was still intact. Owen leaned forward. Mrs. Ashford, Grace, I've worked security for 20 years. I've seen this pattern before. Men like your husband don't stop. They escalate. I know. Do you? Because I've also seen women go back. Believe the apologies. Believe it'll be different. It's never different. I'm not going back. The words surprised her. She hadn't planned to say them, hadn't decided yet, but saying them out loud made them real. She wasn't going back to Dominic, not to the penthouse, not to the marriage, not to the careful dance of managing his moods and hiding bruises. Good, Owen said, because I also sent a copy to someone else, someone who might be able to help. Who? Richard Ashford's executive assistant, Eleanor Price. She's been with him 30 years, knows where all the bodies are buried. Owen stood. And between you and me, she's been waiting for an excuse to take Dominic down. He left, walked out of the coffee shop and back to his normal life, leaving Grace with a tablet full of evidence and no idea what to do next. She watched the footage again. Dominic's hand, her face, the impact. Then she scrolled through the file directory. Owen had included everything. All 16 angles, the audio recording, metadata showing dates and times, chain of custody documentation. It was enough to prove what happened. More than enough. But would it be enough to save her? Grace touched her belly. The baby rolled beneath her palm. Charlotte, her daughter, the reason she had to be brave. She pulled out her phone, stared at the screen, thought about calling Dominic, thought about going home, thought about how easy it would be to just pretend this never happened. The Ashford family would take care of everything, pay off whoever needed paying, make the scandal disappear, go back to their perfect illusion of the perfect family. And Grace would spend the next 18 years teaching her daughter that this was normal, that men hitting you was just stress, just a bad day, just something you tolerated because of money and status and family legacy. No, Grace wouldn't do that, couldn't do that. She opened her email, attached the security footage, started typing a message to her mother, then stopped. If she sent this, everything would change. No going back, no pretending. The Ashfords would come at her with everything they had: money, lawyers, reputation destruction. They'd paint her as unstable, greedy, a gold digger who trapped their son with a pregnancy. They'd try to take Charlotte. Grace's finger hovered over the send button. Mirror technique moment. The coffee shop waitress approaches with a knowing smile. "How far along?" she asks, gesturing to Grace's belly. "7 months," Grace answers automatically. The waitress nods. "My daughter's 6 months. It's scary, isn't it? Bringing them into the world?" Grace's throat tightens. Terrifying. They share a look, that universal fear every pregnant woman understands. What kind of world are we bringing these babies into? Grace deleted the email, started over, this time addressed to Harper. "I have the footage, all 16 angles. What do we do next?" She hit send before she could second guess herself. Her phone rang 30 seconds later, Harper's name on the screen. "We get you a lawyer," Harper said without preamble. "The best divorce attorney in the state. Someone who isn't afraid of the Ashfords. Someone who'll fight." "I can't afford." Owen said he sent the footage to Eleanor Price, Richard Ashford's assistant. "If she's on our side, we might have a chance." "Why would she help me?" "I don't know, but Owen seems to think she will. And right now, I'll take any ally we can get." Grace looked around the coffee shop. Normal people living normal lives. Ordering lattes, working on laptops, meeting friends. None of them running from billionaire husbands. None of them hiding bruises. None of them watching security footage of their own assault. "I'm scared," Grace admitted. "I know, but you're also brave. You left. That's the hardest part." Had she left? Grace wasn't sure. She'd been staying with Harper for 3 days, sleeping on her couch, wearing borrowed clothes. But she hadn't filed for divorce, hadn't made it official, hadn't actually ended anything. She just paused, pressed pause on her life while she figured out what came next. "Dominic's been calling," Grace said. 20 times a day, texting, leaving voicemails. Don't answer. He says he's sorry, says he'll go to therapy, says it'll never happen again. It will happen again. It always happens again. Grace knew that, she did, but hearing him apologize still pulled at something inside her. That part that wanted to believe, wanted to think love could fix this, wanted the fairy tale to be real. Except it wasn't real. It never had been. "My phone's ringing," Grace said. "Unknown number." "Answer it. Might be Eleanor." Grace answered. "Hello? Mrs. Ashford? This is Eleanor Price. Mr. Richard Ashford would like to meet with you this morning. Alone, 9 o'clock at his private office." Grace's heart hammered. "Does Dominic know?" "Mr. Dominic Ashford is currently at his club. He won't be disturbed." "What does Mr. Ashford want?" "To see the footage and to talk about your options." Eleanor's voice softened slightly. "Mrs. Ashford, Grace, come alone. Bring the tablet if you have it. And trust that some members of this family believe in accountability." The line went dead. Grace looked at Harper through the phone. "Richard Ashford wants to meet me in 2 hours." "Oh my God, that's good, right? That's really good. Or it's a trap." Only one way to find out. Grace touched her bruised cheek, felt the concealer under her fingers. Thought about Richard Ashford, Dominic's father. The man who'd built an empire from nothing. The man who'd raised a son who hid his pregnant wife. Validation whisper. "I deserve better than this. I deserved a marriage that didn't make me flinch. I deserve to be safe." The words settled into Grace's bones. True, undeniable. Maybe the first completely honest thing she'd thought in 3 years. She had 2 hours to decide if she was brave enough to face Dominic's father. 2 hours to decide if she was brave enough to tell the truth. Richard Ashford built his empire with 2 hands and 1 rule. Always tell the truth, no matter how much it caused, no matter who it hurt. Truth was the foundation of everything. Business deals, partnerships, reputation. The Ashford name meant something because Richard made it mean something. Until now. Eleanor Price walked into his office at 6 in the morning. Richard was already there. Always was. 62 years old, and he still worked 16-hour days. Still read every contract personally. Still made every major decision. "We have a problem," Eleanor said. "The Shanghai deal." "Your son." Richard looked up from the Wall Street Journal. Eleanor had been his assistant for 30 years. Hired her fresh out of business school. Watched her turn down six-figure offers from competitors to stay with Ashford Industries. She never brought him family problems. Never crossed that line between professional and personal. This had to be serious. Eleanor placed a tablet on his desk. "Meredith's wedding 3 days ago. You need to watch this." Richard watched the footage once. His face remained neutral. Decades of negotiating taught him never to show emotion, never let anyone see him react. He watched it again. Dominic's hand pulling back. The slap. Grace's head snapping sideways. Her hand flying to her pregnant belly. The look on her face. Shock. Pain. Recognition. Richard's knuckles whitened around his coffee cup. "Who else has seen this?" "The security director. Your daughter-in-law. Her friend. Possibly Natalie, though I suspect your wife would have contacted you immediately if she'd known." "Natalie knew?" Eleanor played the audio from the valet station. Natalie's voice. Calm, pragmatic, telling Dominic to handle it quietly. To pay Grace off. To keep it from Richard. Richard set down his cup with deliberate care. The china clicked against the saucer. Loud in the silent office. "Get James Caldwell. Get Grace. Get them both here within the hour." "Sir, Dominic is no longer my concern." Eleanor recognized that tone. She'd heard it twice in 30 years. Once when Richard's business partner embezzled funds. Once when his brother tried to hostile take over Ashford Industries. Both men were destroyed. Systematically. Legally. Permanently. "I'll make the calls," Eleanor said. Richard turned to the window. Manhattan stretched below him, 60 floors up. The city he'd helped build. The empire he'd created. The legacy he'd planned to pass to his son who hit his pregnant wife. Richard thought about his own father, a steel worker who died at 46, black lung from the mills. Richard had been 8 years old. Watched his father grow weaker. Watched him cough blood into handkerchiefs. Watched him die slowly. But he remembered one thing clearly. His father never raised a hand to his mother. Never. Not once, not even during the worst times. When money was tight and tempers were short and stress pressed down on everyone. His father had looked Richard in the eye one night and said, "A real man protects, he doesn't hurt." Richard had built his entire life on that principle, and somehow he'd raised a son who did the opposite. The phone rang. "Eleanor. Grace is on her way. James will be here in 20 minutes. And sir, Dominic just called. He knows something's happening. He's demanding to speak with you. Tell him I'm unavailable. He's threatening to come here. Let him try. Security won't let him up." Richard hung up, watched the city wake up. Delivery trucks, taxis, people starting their day, normal people with normal problems. Richard's problem was his son who destroyed everything. Abapa. Grace arrived at 9 o'clock exactly. Harper dropped her off but stayed in the car. Grace insisted. This meeting needed to happen alone. Eleanor met her at the private elevator. "Mr. Ashford is waiting. Do you have the tablet?" Grace nodded. Couldn't speak. Fear had her throat closed tight. The elevator rose in silence. Grace watched the numbers climb. 60 floors. She'd been here dozens of times. Company parties, holiday dinners, family celebrations. Never like this. Never as an adversary. The elevator opened. Richard Ashford's office dominated the entire floor. Glass walls, city views, furniture that cost more than most houses. Richard stood when she entered. Tailored suit, silver hair. The face of American business. Forbes covers, Wall Street Journal profiles. The self-made billionaire who defined an era. "Grace, thank you for coming. Please sit." He gestured to the sitting area. Not the desk. The comfortable chairs by the window. Equal footing. "Can I get you anything? Water? Tea? Are you hungry?" "I'm fine." "You're not fine. My son hit you while you were pregnant with his child. In public. Surrounded by family." His voice was controlled fury. "Nothing about this is fine. Grace didn't know what to say. Every instinct screamed this was a trap. Rich men protected rich sons. Family protected family. Money protected everything. Richard sat across from her, not behind his desk, not in a power position, just across from her, like equals. I've seen the footage, all 16 angles. I've heard the audio. I know my wife helped cover it up. He paused. I'm not here to protect Dominic. I'm here to help you. Why? Because legacy isn't just money, it's character, honor, the name we leave behind. His jaw tightened. I built Ashford Industries on integrity. Dominic destroyed that in one moment. Grace pulled out the tablet, set it on the table between them. Owen Grant gave me copies, all the evidence, everything. Good. We'll need it. For what? For removing Dominic from the company, from the family, from any position where he can hurt anyone else. Grace stared at him. You're going to fire your own son? I'm going to disown him. Completely. He gets nothing from me, nothing from Ashford Industries, nothing from the family trust. Richard's voice was steel. And I'm going to make sure you and my granddaughter are protected, financially, legally, permanently. I don't want your money. This isn't charity. This is accountability. Dominic created this situation. I'm fixing it. James Caldwell arrived, the family attorney. He looked between Richard and Grace with obvious confusion. Richard, what's this about? Your message said urgent. Watch this. Richard handed him the tablet. James watched. His expression shifted from confusion to shock to carefully neutral professionalism. Lawyer face. The look that meant he was already calculating legal strategies. Richard, before we proceed, you need to understand the implications. If you move against Dominic, the merger with Westbrook could collapse. The board will question your judgment. Natalie will fight this. Dominic will sue. This will be ugly. I don't care. The company could take a significant hit. Reputation damage, stock price, investor confidence. I don't care. Richard, my son beat his pregnant wife. I don't care about mergers or stock prices or reputation. I care about doing what's right. James looked at Grace. Mrs. Ashford, you need independent counsel. Someone not connected to the family. This is too complicated for me to represent both sides. I can't afford. Billionaire appeared with her phone. Margaret Sullivan is on her way. Best divorce attorney in New York. She owes me a favor. Things were moving too fast. Grace couldn't process, couldn't think. Richard Ashford was offering to help her, to protect her, to destroy his own son. Why? I don't understand, Grace said. Why are you doing this? Richard was quiet for a long moment. Then, when I was 8 years old, I saw my father hit my mother once. One time in my entire childhood. He was drunk, stressed about money. He slapped her. He stared out the window. My mother left him for 3 months. Took me and my sister to her parents' farm. Said she wouldn't come back unless he got help. He did. Went to AA, got sober. Never touched her again. But I remember that day, the sound, the shock, the fear. Richard looked at Grace. I swore I'd never be that man. Never raise a son who would be that man. I failed. Gurr technique, moment. Richard's hands tremble slightly as he holds his coffee cup. Grace notices because her hands do the same thing. That involuntary shake when adrenaline and fear flood your system. When your body knows something terrible is happening and can't quite control the physical response. Both of them sitting there, hands shaking, trying to hold steady. But I won't fail to make it right, Richard continued. Dominic is my son. I love him. But love doesn't mean protecting him from consequences. Sometimes love means holding people accountable. Grace touched her belly. Charlotte kicked, strong, healthy, completely dependent on the adults in her life to make good choices. What happens next? Grace asked. Margaret Sullivan arrives in 30 minutes. You tell her everything. We build a case, file for divorce, emergency custody order, restraining order, everything necessary to keep you and Charlotte safe. Dominic will fight. Let him. We have 16 camera angles, audio recordings, and witness testimony, including mine. You testify against your own son. I testify for you and my granddaughter. There's a difference. James was already pulling out documents. If we're doing this, we do it right. Grace, you're about to be represented by one of the best attorneys in the country. Dominic won't know what hit him. Grace wanted to feel relieved, vindicated, safe. Instead, she just felt tired. Tired of fighting, tired of being scared, tired of wondering if she was making the right choice. But looking at Richard Ashford, a man willing to destroy his family legacy to do what was right, Grace thought maybe she wasn't alone anymore. Maybe some people did the right thing, even when it cost them everything, validation. Whisper. Somewhere along the way, I became invisible, not just to him, to myself. But I'm still here. Under all the fear and doubt, I'm still here, and I deserve to be seen. Margaret Sullivan arrived at 9:45. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. She listened to the story, watched the footage, asked pointed questions. Then she looked at Grace and said, "We're going to win. Not just win, we're going to destroy him legally. Are you ready for that?" Grace thought about Charlotte, about raising a daughter who would never think abuse was normal, never think she deserved violence, never think leaving was weakness. "Yes," Grace said, "I'm ready." Margaret Sullivan didn't waste time. Within 2 hours of meeting Grace, she had a plan. "We file everything simultaneously," Margaret explained. "Divorce petition, emergency custody order, restraining order, documentation of abuse with the security footage. Dominic wanted to have a time to respond before the court grants protection." Grace sat in Richard's conference room. Harper had joined them. Margaret, James, Eleanor, Richard, and 2 associates Margaret brought. An entire team assembled to protect her. It felt surreal. "The prenuptial agreement," James said, spreading documents across the table. "Grace signed 3 years ago. Standard for the Ashford family. In event of divorce, she receives her personal assets plus $2 million. No spousal support, no claim to Ashford Industries." "I don't want more than that," Grace said. "You're entitled to more," Margaret countered. "Given the abuse, given the pregnancy, a judge would award substantially higher." Richard interrupted. "The prenup is irrelevant. I'm settling $10 million on Grace immediately. Personal gift, not part of the divorce. Dominic can't touch it." Grace's head spun. "I can't accept." "You can and you will. You'll need resources. Dominic will drag this out. Legal fees alone will be 6 figures. You need security, housing, medical care, everything necessary to protect yourself and Charlotte." "But, Grace," Richard's voice was firm but kind, "I failed to protect you from my son. I won't fail to provide for you now. This isn't charity, it's accountability." Margaret nodded. "We'll structure it carefully. Gifts separate from divorce settlement. Dominic has no legal claim. It's clean." "What about the house in Connecticut?" Eleanor asked. "Dominic never uses it. He hates the country." "Grace gets it," Richard said immediately. "Deed transferred today." James made notes. "We'll need to move fast. Once Dominic knows what's happening, he'll try to freeze assets, hide money, make this difficult." "He can try," Margaret said. "But we have the footage, the audio, the witnesses, and Richard testifying. No judge will side with Dominic." Grace listened to them plan her future. Efficient, methodical, like a military operation. And maybe it was. Maybe divorcing a billionaire required that level of strategic thinking. Her phone buzzed. "Dominic, again, the 20th call today." "Don't answer," Margaret said. "Every call is evidence of harassment. Let it go to voicemail." The phone buzzed again. Text message. "Where are you? You're scaring me. Please call. I love you. We need to talk about the baby." Harper read over Grace's shoulder. "He's trying to manipulate you." "I know." But part of Grace still wanted to answer, still wanted to believe Dominic could change, still wanted the fairy tale to be real. Another text. "My mother is worried." "Your mother is worried. Everyone thinks you're having a breakdown. Please come home so we can get you help." There it was, the gaslight. Making Grace the problem. Making her worry the issue instead of his violence. Margaret took the phone. "I'll handle his communication. You focus on yourself and the baby." Dr. Mitchell arrived at 11. Richard had arranged for Grace's OBGYN to meet them at the office. Privacy, security, no risk of running into Dominic. "How are you feeling?" Dr. Mitchell asked. "Stressed, scared, tired. Let's check the baby." Dr. Mitchell pulled out a portable ultrasound, spread gel across Grace's belly. The image flickered to life on screen. There she was, Charlotte, moving, healthy, completely unaware of the chaos surrounding her. Heartbeat strong, growth on track. She's doing well. Dr. Mitchell looked at Grace seriously. "But your blood pressure is elevated. Not dangerous yet, but we need to monitor it. Stress affects pregnancy. You need to rest." "I'm trying. Try harder. This baby needs you healthy. That means taking care of yourself first." Grace nodded. "Watch Charlotte on the screen. Her daughter, her reason for everything." "I'm leaving him," Grace said. "Dominic, I'm divorcing him." Dr. Mitchell didn't look surprised. "Good. I've been documenting your injuries for 6 months. Falls, accidents, bruises you explained away. I knew something was wrong." "Why didn't you say anything?" "I did. 3 times I asked if you were safe at home. 3 times you said yes. I couldn't force you to leave. I could only wait until you were ready." Grace remembered those conversations. Dr. Mitchell asking careful questions, giving her pamphlets about domestic violence, providing resources. Grace had thrown the pamphlets away, insisted everything was fine, convinced herself Dr. Mitchell was overreacting. She hadn't been overreacting. She'd been seeing clearly. "I'm ready now," Grace said. "I know, and I'll testify if needed. Medical records, documentation, everything. Another person willing to help, another voice supporting her." Grace wasn't alone. She'd thought she was. For 3 years, she'd felt isolated, cut off, like no one would believe her or help her or care. But people did care. They'd been waiting, watching, ready to help the moment Grace was ready to accept it. At 2 o'clock, Margaret had everything ready. "We file tomorrow morning. Court opens at 9. By noon, you'll have legal protection. Dominic won't be able to contact you or come near you." What if he violates it? Then he goes to jail. It's that simple. Except nothing about this felt simple. Grace's phone rang. Her mother. She'd been avoiding that call for 3 days. "I should answer," Grace said. "She'll worry." "Put it on speaker," Margaret suggested. "I want to hear what story the Ashfords are telling." Grace answered. "Mom?" "Grace, oh, honey, are you okay? Natalie called me. She said you had some kind of episode at the wedding. She said you are not answering Dominic's calls. She said you might be having pregnancy complications." There was the narrative, pregnancy complications, an episode, Grace's problem, not Dominic's violence. "Mom, I'm fine. The baby's fine, but I need to tell you something." "What's wrong?" "Dominic hit me at the wedding in front of everyone. I'm divorcing him." Silence. Long, heavy. Then her mother's voice. Steady, strong. "Where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm safe. I'm with people who are helping." "The Ashfords?" "Richard, Dominic's father. He's supporting me." "And Natalie?" "Is protecting Dominic." Her mother exhaled. "I never liked him, Dominic. Something about him always felt wrong. But you seemed happy. I thought maybe I was being overprotective." "You weren't." "Do you need me? I can be on a plane in 2 hours." Grace's eyes filled. "Not yet. Maybe after. When things are settled." "I'll come anyway. You're my daughter. You're pregnant. You need your mother, Bahui." "Mom, I'm booking a flight. Text me where you're staying. I'll be there by tonight." She hung up. No argument, no negotiation, just immediate support. Harper squeezed Grace's hand. "See, people love you. People want to help." "But what about people who don't? Dominic has friends, business associates, people who will believe his version." "Let them," Margaret said. "We don't need everyone to believe you. We need a judge to believe you. And we have 16 camera angles that make belief unnecessary." Richard stood. "I'm holding a press conference tomorrow, after the court filing. I'm going public with this." James objected immediately. "Richard, that's not advisable. The publicity, the damage to the company." I don't care about the company. I care about making sure everyone knows the truth. Dominic Ashford is an abuser. I'm disowning him. The Ashford name will not protect violence. The board will revolt. Shareholders will panic. My reputation is built on integrity. This is integrity. Protecting my daughter-in-law and granddaughter. That's what matters. Eleanor was already drafting the statement. We'll need talking points, prepared responses to questions. This will be national news. Good. Let it be news. Let everyone see that money doesn't buy protection from consequences. Grace felt overwhelmed. Everything was moving so fast. Too fast. Yesterday she was hiding in Harper's apartment. Today she had an army of lawyers and a billionaire willing to destroy his family legacy to help her. I need air, Grace said. Harper stood immediately. Come on, let's walk. They took the elevator down, walked to a nearby park, spring afternoon, sunshine, people jogging, playing with boys, living normal lives. Grace sat on a bench, tried to breathe. Breathing room scene. The park smells like fresh-cut grass. Someone's playing guitar nearby. The music drifts through the air, soft, gentle. Grace closes her eyes, tries to remember the last time she felt peaceful. Can't remember. Has it been 3 years? Longer? The baby kicks. Grace rests her hand on her belly. We're going to be okay, she whispers. I promise we're going to be okay. Harper sat beside her, quiet, just present. What if I'm making a mistake? Grace asked. You're not. What if the court doesn't believe me? What if Dominic wins? What if he takes Charlotte? He won't. You don't know that. I know you. I know you wouldn't leave unless you had to. I know you're doing the right thing. Grace wasn't sure about that. Right felt like something other people knew. People who made good choices, people who saw red flags and left immediately. Grace had seen red flags for 3 years and stayed. Why did I stay so long? She asked. Harper thought about it. Because leaving is hard. Because he made you doubt yourself. Because you loved who you thought he was. Because a million reasons that all made sense at the time. I feel stupid. You're not stupid. You're human and humans make mistakes, but you're fixing it now. That's what matters. Grace touched her bruised cheek. The yellow was fading. By next week, it would be gone completely. No visible evidence that Dominic ever hurt her, except the video. The 16 camera angles that captured everything. Evidence that would never fade. Validation. Whisper. The hardest part is admitting I knew all along. The signs were there. The red flags were waving. I chose to ignore them because leaving felt harder than staying. I was wrong, but I'm not wrong anymore. Her phone buzzed. Margaret Sullivan. Grace, we have a problem. Dominic knows something's happening. He just showed up at my office demanding information. Security removed him, but he's escalating. You need to stay away from any place he might find you. Grace's stomach dropped. Where can I go? Richard has a safe house. Security team. Everything you need. Pack a bag. We'll move you tonight. Grace looked at Harper. Dominic knows. Then we moved now. They went back to Harper's apartment. Grace packed her few belongings, clothes, toiletries, the tablet with the security footage. That was it. 3 years of marriage fit into one suitcase. Everything else was Dominic's, or the Ashfords, or purchased with their money. Grace owned almost nothing of her own. She'd given up everything to marry Dominic. Her job, her apartment, her independence. And now she was starting over with nothing. No, not nothing. She had evidence, she had allies, she had her daughter. That was more than nothing. That was everything. Dominic found out at 4:36 in the afternoon. His lawyer called. Emergency meeting. Dominic left his club immediately. Drove to the lawyer's office in Midtown. Jonathan Pierce had been representing the Ashford family for 15 years. Handled everything from business contracts to drunk driving charges Dominic picked up in his 20s. Discreet, expensive, loyal, or so Dominic thought. They're filing for divorce, Jonathan said without preamble. Tomorrow morning, your wife has security footage from the wedding. Multiple angles, audio recordings, medical documentation, witness testimony. Dominic's world tilted. That's not possible. I handled it. My mother handled it. The security company gave copies to Grace before your lawyer could suppress them. It's out there, Dominic, all of it. So we fight. Say the video's fake. Say she's lying. Pay off whoever we need to. Jonathan shook his head. We can't. Your father is supporting her. Richard Ashford is providing legal counsel, financial resources, and his own testimony. The words didn't make sense. Dominic heard them but couldn't process them. My father wouldn't. He needs me for the Westbrook merger, the company, the legacy. Your father is holding a press conference tomorrow. He's disowning you, publicly, removing you from Ashford Industries, cutting off your trust fund, all of it. Dominic stood, paced. His mind raced through possibilities, scenarios, ways to fix this. Call my mother. She'll talk sense into him. I tried. She's not answering. My sources say she's consulting her own attorney for divorce. Everything was falling apart, crumbling. The foundation of Dominic's entire life cracking beneath him. This is Grace's fault. That bitch planned this. Probably staged the whole thing. Dominic, I watched the footage. You hit her hard. While she was 7 months pregnant at a family wedding, it's on camera from 16 angles. There's no staging that. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. I was trying to steady her and that's not what the video shows. I can't defend you with that footage out there. No lawyer can. Dominic's hands clenched into fists, rage built in his chest, hot, blinding. Grace had done this, ruined everything, destroyed his life, turned his own father against him. She'd pay for this. Somehow, some way. I'm going to the apartment, Dominic said. Grace is probably there. We'll talk. Work this out. She's not there. She's in protective custody. Richard arranged security. You can't contact her. If you try, she'll get a restraining order. She's my wife. Not for long. By tomorrow afternoon, she'll be legally protected. You'll be ordered to stay 500 feet away. Any violation means jail time. I'm Dominic Ashford. I don't go to jail. Jonathan's expression was grim. You do now. Your father isn't protecting you. Your money is frozen. Your lawyers are dropping you. You're on your own. The words finally penetrated. Dominic sank into the chair. On his own. He'd never been on his own in his entire life. Always had his father's money, his family's name, protection from consequences. What do I do? Get your own lawyer immediately. Someone who specializes in domestic violence defense. It won't be cheap. And start liquidating assets. Everything you own personally. You'll need money for legal fees. I have my trust fund. Had. Your father froze it this morning. You have whatever's in your personal accounts. That's it. Dominic pulled out his phone, checked his banking app. $200,000. His personal checking. Money he kept for day-to-day expenses. Pocket change. Everything else was trust fund. Everything else was Ashford money. Everything else his father controlled. And his father had just cut him off. Dominic drove to his parents' apartment, penthouse on the Upper East Side, where he'd grown up, where family dinners happened every Sunday, where everything was supposed to be safe. The doorman stopped him in the lobby. I'm sorry, Mr. Ashford. You're not on the approved list. I live here. Not anymore, sir. I have instructions from Mr. Richard Ashford. You're not permitted in the building. That's my father, my mother, my home. I'm sorry, sir. I have to ask you to leave. Dominic's rage exploded. He shoved past the doorman, made it to the elevator before security grabbed him. 2 men, professional, efficient. They escorted him out, not gently. If you return, we'll call the police, one said. Where Ashford was very clear. Dominic stood on the sidewalk, stared up at the building. Lights on in the Pennant house. His mother was home. His father was probably there, discussing how to destroy him, his own family, turning against him. All because of Grace. He called his mother. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. Texted. No response. She was ghosting him, his own mother. Dominic drove to Richard's office building. 60 floors of steel and glass. The Ashford empire made visible. He'd grown up in this building. Summer internships, family tours, unlearning the business from his father. Security stopped him at the front desk. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ashford, you don't have clearance." "I'm the heir, the vice president. I have an office on the 45th floor." "Had, sir. Your access was revoked this morning. I have to ask you to leave." "Let me see my father. 5 minutes, that's all I need." "Mr. Richard Ashford is unavailable. If you don't leave, we'll call the police." Police, they kept threatening police. Like Dominic was a criminal. Like he'd done something wrong. He'd just disciplined his wife. That's what husbands did. That's what his father should understand. Control, authority, keeping your woman in line. Except his father had never hit his mother. Dominic realized that suddenly. 30 years of marriage and Richard Ashford had never once raised a hand to Natalie. Maybe that was the problem. Too soft, too weak. Let women walk all over him. Dominic wouldn't make that mistake. He drove to the safe house. The Connecticut property. His father mentioned it once. A colonial with a wraparound porch, 2 hours from the city, where Dominic suspected Grace was hiding. He'd find her. Make her understand, make her take it all back. They'd work this out. Together. Like married people did. She was his wife. His property. She didn't get to just leave. Grace watched the sun set from the Connecticut house. Safe house. Protected. Security guards outside. Alarm system. Everything necessary to keep Dominic away. Her mother had arrived an hour ago, flew in from Wisconsin, hugged Grace for 5 straight minutes without saying a word. Now they sat on the porch, rocking chairs, sweet tea, the kind of quiet evening Grace hadn't experienced in years. "Tell me everything," her mother said. So Grace did, started from the beginning, the whirlwind courtship, the lavish wedding, the slow realization that Dominic wasn't who he pretended to be, the accidents, the gaslighting, the control, the slap at the wedding that finally broke through her denial. Her mother listened, didn't interrupt, didn't judge, just listened. When Grace finished, her mother was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I should have pushed harder. When I said I didn't like him, when something felt off, I should have said more. I wouldn't have listened. I know, but I still should have tried. You're here now, that's what matters." Her mother took Grace's hand. "You're going to get through this. You're stronger than you know. Always have been." Grace wasn't sure about that. Strong felt like something other people were. People who left immediately. People who saw red flags and ran. But maybe strength wasn't seeing red flags early. Maybe strength was leaving eventually. Even when it was hard. Even when it cost her everything. Mirror technique moment. Grace's mother stands to make dinner. Grace watches her move around the kitchen. Familiar movements. The way she chops vegetables. The way she hums while cooking. Grace used to do that. Hum while cooking. She can't remember when she stopped. Can't remember the moment she decided silence was safer than joy. Dominic hated when she hummed. Said it was annoying. She'd stopped without even realizing it. Harper called at 7. "You okay?" "Yeah, my mom's here." "Good." Margaret called. "Everything's ready for tomorrow. Court filing at 9. Press conference at 11. By noon, you'll be legally protected." "And Dominic?" "Will lose his mind, but he can't do anything about it. The law is on your side now." The law. Grace had never trusted the law before. Money bought justice. Money made problems disappear. The Ashfords had taught her that. But maybe this time was different. Maybe this time justice would work. Her phone buzzed. "Dominic," another call, another text. "I know where you are. We need to talk. This is ridiculous. I'm your husband. You can't just leave. I love you. Please, for Charlotte. Think about our daughter." Margaret had told her not to respond. Every contact was evidence. Every text was documentation, building the case against him. But part of Grace wanted to answer, wanted to explain, wanted to make him understand why she left. Except he'd never understand. Men like Dominic didn't understand. They only understood control, power, getting what they wanted. Grace blocked his number. Finally, after 3 days of constant calls, she should have done it sooner. Should have done a lot of things sooner, but she was doing them now. That had to count for something. Validation whisper. Starting over feels impossible, but staying felt worse. And now I'm not starting over. I'm starting new. There's a difference. At 9 o'clock, security called. Ma'am, we have a situation. Someone's trying to access the property. Matches the description of your husband. Grace's stomach dropped. Is he inside? No, we stopped him at the gate, but he's refusing to leave. Says he has a right to see his wife. Should we call the police? Grace looked at her mother, at Harper on the phone, at the safe house that suddenly didn't feel safe enough. Yes, Grace said, call the police and call Margaret Sullivan. Dominic had escalated, just like Owen said he would. Men like him didn't stop. They got worse. Tomorrow, Grace would have legal protection. Tonight, she just had to survive. The police arrived at 9:15. 2 officers, professional but skeptical. Rich people's problems in rich neighborhoods rarely impress them. Ma'am, your husband says there's been a misunderstanding. Says you're having pregnancy complications. Says he's worried about you. There it was, Dominic's narrative. Grace is the problem. Unstable, emotional, pregnancy hormones making her irrational. He hit me, Grace said. 3 days ago at a wedding. I have video evidence. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow morning. He's not supposed to be here. Is there a restraining order? Not yet, filing tomorrow. The officer's expression shifted slightly. That look Grace had seen before. Without a restraining order, Dominic technically hadn't broken any laws. Showing up at his wife's location wasn't illegal. Annoying, maybe. Harassing, probably. But not illegal, not yet. We can ask him to leave, the officer said, but we can't force him unless he's trespassing. Is this your property? It belongs to his father, who wants me here and doesn't want Dominic here. Then technically neither of you has legal standing. We'll ask him to leave voluntarily. But ma'am, you should file that restraining order as soon as possible. Grace watched through the window as the officers talked to Dominic. He was charming, concerned, playing the worried husband perfectly. She'd seen this performance before. The officers seemed to believe him. Margaret Sullivan arrived 20 minutes later, saw the situation, and immediately took control. Officers, I'm Mrs. Ashford's attorney. She's filing for divorce tomorrow morning with an emergency restraining order. Evidence includes video documentation of assault, audio recordings of threatening behavior, and medical reports of abuse. Her husband's presence here tonight will be documented as harassment. The legal language shifted everything. Suddenly, this wasn't a domestic dispute. It was a legal case with evidence and documentation and an attorney involved. The officers' attitudes changed. Mr. Ashford, you need to leave. Now. If you return, we'll arrest you for trespassing and harassment. Dominic's mask finally cracked. This is insane. She's my wife. That's my baby. I have rights. You have rights that will be determined in court. Tonight you need to leave. I'm not leaving until I talk to Grace. Then you're under arrest for trespassing. Everything happened fast. The officers moved in. Dominic resisted. Not violently, but enough to make it difficult. Enough to turn a voluntary departure into an arrest. They handcuffed him. Rid him his rights. Led him to the patrol car. Dominic's eyes found Grace through the window. Pure rage. Not the controlled anger she'd seen before. Not the calculated fury. Just raw hatred. You're going to regret this, he screamed. You're nothing without me. Nothing. I'll destroy you. The patrol car drove away, red and blue lights fading into darkness. Grace sank onto the couch, started shaking, couldn't stop. Her mother wrapped arms around her. It's okay, he's gone. You're safe. But Grace didn't feel safe. She felt terrified because Dominic's mask had finally come off completely, and the man underneath was capable of anything. Margaret sat across from her. This is good. I know it doesn't feel good, but legally, this helps us. He violated the property owner's wishes. He threatened you. He resisted arrest. All documented, all evidence. What happens now? He'll be processed, probably released in a few hours, but it's on record. When we file tomorrow, the judge will see this. We'll see the pattern of escalation. Grace touched her belly. Charlotte was quiet, probably sleeping, unaware that her father just got arrested, unaware that her parents' marriage was imploding. I need to lie down, Grace said. Her mother helped her upstairs. The bedroom was simple, clean, safe, nothing like the penthouse she'd shared with Dominic. No designer furniture, no silk sheets, just a bed and quiet and space to breathe. Grace lay down. Her mother sat in the chair beside the bed. Do you want me to stay? Please. I'm not going anywhere. Sleep. I'll be right here. Grace closed her eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Her mind raced. Tomorrow, court, divorce filing, press conference, everything becoming public. Real, permanent. No going back after tomorrow. Was she ready for that? Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. Grace, Dominic's voice. Don't hang up, please. Just listen. How did you ow? I called from a police station. They let me make a call. I used it on you. I don't want to talk to you. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. 5 minutes to explain. Grace should hang up, should block the number, should tell Margaret immediately, but she didn't. Some part of her still wanted to hear what Dominic would say, still wanted to believe he could change, still wanted the fairy tale to be real. You have 3 minutes, Grace said. I'm sorry. I know I keep saying that. I know you don't believe me, but I am. I'm sorry for hitting you. Sorry for scaring you. Sorry for everything. Sorry isn't enough. I know. That's why I'm getting help. Real help. I contacted a therapist, someone who specializes in anger management. I'm going to fix this. You can't fix this. It's over, Dominic. It doesn't have to be. We can work this out. Go to counseling together. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't leave, please. Don't take Charlotte away from me. His voice broke, real emotion, or performed emotion. Grace couldn't tell anymore. Maybe he couldn't either. Maybe Dominic had performed for so long he didn't know what was real. I can't trust you, Grace said. You've hurt me too many times, made too many promises you didn't keep. This is different. I swear, I'll prove it. Just give me a chance. No, Grace, no, I'm filing for divorce. I'm getting a restraining order. I'm taking Charlotte and building a life that doesn't include you. It's done. Silence. Then Dominic's voice changed. Harder, colder, the mask falling away completely. You're making a mistake, a huge mistake. You think my father will protect you? He won't. Not when the company tanks, not when the merger collapses, not when I'm done destroying your reputation. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you. You're nothing, Grace. A nobody from nowhere who got lucky when I married you. Without me, you'll have nothing. No money, no status, no protection, just a baby in a life you can't afford. I have your father's support. For now, wait until the damage hits. Wait until shareholders revolt. Wait until the board demands he choose between the company and you. He'll choose the company. He always does. Grace's hands trembled. Goodbye, Dominic. This isn't over. It's never going to be over. You're mine, Charlotte's mine, and I always get what's mine. She hung up. Blocked the number, texted Margaret immediately with everything Dominic said. Margaret responded within seconds. Document everything. Recording if you have it. This is evidence of threatening behavior. Grace hadn't recorded it, hadn't thought to. Just had her memory and the fear coursing through her veins. Her mother took the phone. No more calls tonight. No more texts. No more Dominic. You need to rest. I can't rest. My mind won't stop. Then we'll sit here together until it does. Grace stared at the ceiling. White paint. Simple light fixture. So different from the crystal chandelier in the penthouse bedroom. So different from everything she'd gotten used to. She'd traded luxury for safety, money for peace, the Ashford name for her own identity. And she'd do it again, every time. Major emotional peak. Grace broke down, not crying over Dominic, not mourning the marriage, crying for herself, for the woman who walked down the aisle 3 years ago believing in forever, for every time she apologized when he was angry, for every excuse she made for his behavior, for every moment she convinced herself this was normal. Harper had been right. Love wasn't supposed to hurt, but Grace had spent 3 years thinking pain was the price of love. Her mother held her while she sobbed. The baby kicked frantically, responding to Grace's distress. Grace forced herself to calm down. Breathe. Her daughter could feel her emotions, feel her stress. Grace wouldn't pass this trauma down, wouldn't let Charlotte grow up thinking fear was normal. I'm okay, Grace whispered to her belly. We're okay, I promise. The baby settled, quieted, trusting her mother's voice. Grace wished she could trust herself that completely. Breathing room scene. Grace takes a bath at midnight. The tub is simple, basic. Nothing like the marble-soaking tub in the penthouse, but the water is hot, and the bathroom door locks, and no one will barge in demanding to know why she's taking so long. She floats, belly breaking the surface like an island. Her daughter moves beneath her hands. Grace hums, a lullaby her own mother sang. She realizes she can't remember the last time she sang. Dominic hated when she sang, said she was off-key, said it annoyed him. She'd stopped without even realizing. Tonight she sings louder. No. Morning came too fast. Grace woke at 6 to her phone buzzing. Margaret Sullivan. Good morning. Today we file. How are you feeling? Terrified. Good. That means you understand the stakes. But Grace, we have everything we need. The video, the audio, the arrest last night, medical records, witness testimony. You're going to win this. When will Dominic know? The moment we file, the court will notify him. He'll have 72 hours to respond. But the emergency restraining order goes into effect immediately. He'll be served by this afternoon. Grace got dressed. Simple clothes, nothing designer, nothing Dominic bought her, just jeans and a sweater Harper had loaned her. Comfortable, real. Her mother made breakfast. Eggs, toast, orange juice. The kind of simple meal Grace hadn't eaten in years. The Ashfords didn't do simple. Every meal was an event, prepared by their private chef, served on china worth thousands. Grace had forgotten what normal felt like. At 8:30, Margaret called again. We're filing in 15 minutes. Richard's press conference is scheduled for 11. Grace, this is going to be national news. Are you prepared for that? No, but I'm doing it anyway. That's all that matters. Stay at the house today. Don't talk to reporters. Don't respond to any calls from numbers you don't recognize. Let me handle everything. Okay. Grace, you're doing the right thing. The line went dead. Grace sat on the porch, her mother beside her, Harper on the other side, waiting. In 15 minutes, everything would change. No going back, no pretending. Her marriage would officially be over. Her phone buzzed at 8:45. Richard Ashford. It's done. Divorce petition filed. Emergency custody order granted. Restraining order active. Dominic has been notified. He's officially served. How did he react? I don't know. I'm not speaking to him. But my attorney says he's demanding to see me. Demanding I reconsider. Threatening legal action. Will you reconsider? Richard's voice was firm. Never. I meant what I said. He's disowned. Permanently. What he did is unforgivable. Thank you for everything. For believing me. I should have seen it sooner. Should have protected you sooner. I failed in that, but I won't fail now. They hung up. Grace checked the time. 8:50. The press conference was in 2 hours and 10 minutes. The world would know soon. Everyone would see the security footage. Everyone would know what Dominic did. There was no hiding anymore. At 11 o'clock, Grace turned on the television. Richard Ashford stood at a podium, cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions. The Ashford Industries logo behind him. He looked older, tired, but resolute. I am Richard Ashford, founder and CEO of Ashford Industries. I'm here today to address a personal family matter that has become a legal issue. 3 days ago, at a family wedding, my son Dominic Ashford struck his pregnant wife. The assault was captured on security cameras from multiple angles. I have seen the footage. It is real. It is unedited. It is indefensible. The room erupted. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted. Richard held up a hand for silence. Effective immediately, Dominic Ashford has been removed from all positions within Ashford Industries. He no longer has access to family resources. He has been disowned. I will not be providing legal support or financial assistance. I am personally testifying on behalf of his wife, Grace Ashford, in all legal proceedings. More shouting, Richard continued over the noise. I am making this statement because accountability matters. because wealth does not excuse violence, because my granddaughter deserves to grow up knowing that her grandfather chose what was right over what was easy. I failed to see what my son was becoming. I will not fail to address it now. He stepped away from the podium, ignored the questions, walked out. Grace watched the screen go dark, then switched to news anchors discussing what just happened, the business implications, the family drama, the unprecedented move of a billionaire disowning his heir. Her phone exploded. Messages, calls, unknown numbers, reporters, people from her past, everyone wanting a comment, a statement, an interview. Grace turned off her phone. She sat on the couch, her mother on one side, Harper on the other, and watched her private pain become public knowledge. Mirror technique moment. The television shows a photo of Grace and Dominic from their wedding. They look happy, in love, perfect. Grace stares at the image, at herself 3 years ago, so naive, so hopeful, so completely unaware of what was coming. She doesn't recognize that woman anymore, can barely remember being her. It's going to get worse before it gets better, Harper said quietly. I know. Social media will be brutal. People will say terrible things, blame you, defend him, question everything. I know. But some people will understand, will support you, will see the truth. Grace hoped that was true. Hoped the video was clear enough, honest enough, real enough that people couldn't explain it away. But she'd learned over 3 years that people believed what they wanted to believe. Money bought narratives. Influence shaped perception. The Ashfords had been controlling their image for decades. Would the truth be enough to overcome that? Grace didn't know. She just knew she'd told the truth. Whatever happened next was beyond her control. At 1 o'clock, Margaret called. We have a problem. Dominic's hired Anthony Castellano. Who's that? The best defense attorney in the country. Expensive, ruthless. He specializes in defending wealthy men accused of domestic violence. Can we win against him? Yes, but it won't be easy. Castellano will attack your credibility. Claim you're after money. Paint you as unstable. It's going to get ugly, Grace. I'm ready. Are you? Well, because Castellano doesn't play fair. He'll dig up everything. Your past, your family, anything he can use to make a jury question you. I have nothing to hide. Everyone has something, and he'll find it or create it. Grace felt the fear rising, but beneath it something else, anger, determination. She'd come this far, done the hard part. She wouldn't back down now. Let him try, Grace said. I have the truth and 16 camera angles. Margaret laughed. That's the spirit. We're going to win this. Just be prepared for it to hurt first. Grace was prepared. She'd been hurting for 3 years. A little more pain to get free seemed like a fair trade. The footage leaked by evening. Grace didn't know how. Margaret swore it wasn't her. Richard's team denied involvement. Owen Grant had been too careful with the copies. But by 6 o'clock, 16 angles of Dominic Ashford hitting his pregnant wife at a society wedding were trending globally. Not just tabloids. CNN, BBC, every major news network. International coverage. The Ashford name became synonymous with abuse, entitlement, everything wrong with billionaire culture. Grace's phone wouldn't stop. Even powered off, she knew it was happening, could feel it in the air. Her private nightmare becoming public spectacle. Harper monitored social media, showed Grace the good comments, hid the bad ones. But Grace knew they were there. The accusations, the doubts, the people calling her a liar despite video evidence. Money bought loyal supporters. The Ashford family had plenty of both. Anthony Castellano held his own press conference at 7. Dominic beside him, perfectly groomed, perfectly contrite, the mask back in place. My client deeply regrets the incident at his cousin's wedding, Castellano said. However, the situation has been mischaracterized. Mr. Ashford was attempting to steady his wife, who suffers from pregnancy-related dizzy spells. The contact was accidental, unfortunate, but not assault. Grace watched from the Connecticut house, couldn't look away even though every word felt like a knife. Furthermore, Mrs. Ashford has been experiencing severe pregnancy complications, hormonal imbalances, emotional instability. Medical professionals will testify that pregnant women often misinterpret innocent actions due to heightened anxiety and hormonal fluctuations. There it was, the defense strategy. Grace as unstable, irrational. Pregnancy hormones making her imagine abuse that didn't exist. Never mind the video, never mind the audio, never mind the witnesses. Just blame the pregnant woman. Dominic spoke, his voice soft, vulnerable, calculated. I love my wife. I love our daughter. This has been blown completely out of proportion. My own father has turned against me based on incomplete information. I'm asking for the chance to tell my side, to defend myself, to reunite my family. He looked directly into the camera. Grace, if you're watching, please come home. Let's work this out for Charlotte, for us. I miss you. Grace felt sick. The performance was flawless. Dominic, the victim. Grace, the irrational pregnant woman. His father, the misguided old man making rash decisions. Harper muted the television. Don't listen to him. No one who saw the video believes that garbage. But plenty of people would believe it. Plenty of people wanted to believe it. Because if Dominic was guilty, it meant men like him existed everywhere. It meant money didn't protect you. It meant the fairy tale was a lie. Easier to blame Grace, easier to believe she misunderstood, easier to maintain the illusion. Grace's phone rang. She turned it back on to call her doctor. Now she regretted it. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then thought maybe it was important. Hello? You fucking bitch. Grace's blood froze. You destroyed my son's life, turned his father against him. For what? Money? Tension? You were nothing before Dominic? Nothing. And you'll be nothing again. Natalie, Dominic's mother. I'm hanging up. You'll regret this. I'll make sure of it. I have resources, connections. You think Richard protecting you means anything? Wait until I'm done. Wait until no one believes you. Wait until Charlotte grows up knowing her mother destroyed her father. Grace hung up, blocked the number, hands shaking. Margaret had warned her this would happen. The family would fight back, use every weapon they had, money, influence, character assassination. But hearing Natalie's voice, the hatred, the venom, it made everything real in a way abstractions couldn't. Dr. Mitchell arrived an hour later. House call. Richard arranged it. Privacy, safety. How are you feeling, Disown? Mitchell asked. Stressed, scared, overwhelmed. Your blood pressure is elevated, not dangerously, but concerning. You're 35 weeks. The baby could come early if stress continues. I can't control the stress. Then we control what we can. Bed rest, limited activity, no television, no social media, nothing that spikes your anxiety. I'm in the middle of a divorce, a media circus. There's no avoiding anxiety. Dr. Mitchell sat beside her. Grace, you need to prioritize Charlotte. She needs to make it to full term. That means taking care of yourself. Whatever's happening legally can wait. Your daughter can't. Grace knew she was right, knew the baby mattered more than anything. But how could she rest when Dominic was on television lying? When Natalie was threatening her? When the whole world was watching her life implode? I'll try, Grace said. You'll do better than try. Doctor's orders, bed rest for the next week. Margaret and Richard can handle the legal work. You focus on Charlotte. Harper nodded. I'll need to make sure she follows orders. No phone, no TV, just rest. Grace wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but she was so tired. Tired of fighting, tired of being strong, tired of holding everything together. Maybe resting was okay. Maybe letting other people handle things for a while was okay. Validation. Whisper, I finally understand that the prison door had been unlocked all along. I was my own warden, but not anymore. Now I'm free. We're free, and staying free means protecting Charlotte first. Everything else can wait. Dr. Mitchell left instructions. Diet, activities, warning signs of early labor. Everything necessary to keep Grace and Charlotte safe. That night, Grace lay in bed, her mother in the chair beside her, Harper on the other side, guards downstairs, alarm system active. Every layer of protection money could buy. But Grace didn't feel protected. She felt exposed, vulnerable, like the whole world was watching her bleed. Her mother took her hand. When I was pregnant with you, I had complications too. Preeclampsia, bed rest for 3 months. I thought I'd go crazy. Lying there, unable to work, unable to do anything but wait. What did you do? I talked to you every day, told you stories, sang songs, made promises about the life we'd have together. It helped, made the waiting bearable. Grace touched her belly. Charlotte moved beneath her palm. What kind of promises? That I'd always protect you, always believe you, always choose you. I kept those promises, even when it was hard, even when you married someone I didn't like. I chose to trust your judgment, to support your choice. You were right about Dominic. Doesn't matter, you needed to figure it out yourself. That's what love is, letting people make their own mistakes, being there when they're ready to fix them. Grace's eyes filled. I don't know how to fix this. You're already fixing it. You left. You told the truth. You're protecting Charlotte. That's fixing it. It doesn't feel like enough. It's everything. They sat in comfortable silence. Mother and daughter, past and future, the cycle continuing. Grace would be a mother soon, would face these same decisions. How to protect without controlling. How to support without enabling. How to love without losing herself. She hoped she'd do better than Natalie Ashford. Mirror technique moment. Grace's mother braids her hair, gentle, soothing, the way she did when Grace was a child. Sick days home from school, bad dreams, heartbreaks, always her mother's hands in her open, making everything feel manageable. Grace closes her eyes, lets herself be the daughter instead of the mother. Just for tonight. Tomorrow she'll be strong again. Tonight she rests. Sleep came eventually, fitful, interrupted by dreams of courtrooms and cameras and Dominic's voice promising revenge. But morning came anyway, sunlight through the window, birds singing. The world continuing despite everything. Grace woke to voices downstairs, low, urgent. She shouldn't get up. Doctor's orders. But fear pulled her out of bed. Harper met her at the stairs. It's okay. It's good news. Richard's on the phone with Margaret. The judge denied Dominic's motion to dismiss. What motion? He tried to get the restraining order thrown out, claimed it was based on false allegations. The judge reviewed the security footage and denied his request. The restraining order stands. Grace sank onto the top step, relief flooding through her. Dominic also violated the order, tried to contact you through third parties, sent flowers to Harper's apartment with a note, showed up at Richard's office building. All documented, all violations. What does that mean? It means he's making our case for us. Every violation is evidence. Every contact proves he's dangerous. Margaret's filing contempt charges. Grace should feel victorious. Instead, she just felt exhausted. Dominic wasn't going to stop. He'd escalate, push harder, get more desperate. Men like him always did. The question was how far he'd go before someone stopped him. 6 weeks later, Charlotte Rose Ashford arrived at 8:37 in the morning. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, healthy, perfect, screaming her arrival with impressive volume. Grace held her daughter and felt everything shift. All the fear and pain and uncertainty crystallized into one clear truth. She'd do anything to protect this baby. Anything. Richard arrived before Harper. He'd been in the waiting room since 3 a.m. when Grace's water broke. Pacing, worrying, being the grandfather Dominic would never be. Can I? He asked, gesturing to Charlotte. Grace handed her over. Watch this powerful man, this billionaire who built empires, hold her tiny daughter with trembling hands. Hello, Charlotte Rose, Richard whispered. I'm your grandpa. And I promise you'll never doubt you're loved. You'll never wonder if you're safe. You'll always know you matter more than money or status or any Ashford legacy. He looked at Grace, eyes wet. Thank you for trusting me, for letting me be part of this. You chose us when it mattered. That means everything. Harper arrived with balloons and flowers and enough baby supplies for a small army. She'd been preparing for weeks, turning the Connecticut house into a real home. Nursery painted, furniture assembled, Every detail perfect. Dr. Mitchell checked Grace and Charlotte. Both healthy, both strong. You did it, full term, healthy delivery. I'm proud of you. I couldn't have done it without everyone's help. That's the point. You don't have to do everything alone. Asking for help isn't weakness, it's strength. Grace had learned that over the past 6 weeks. Learned to lean on people, accept support, trust that others would catch her when she fell. The divorce proceedings were moving forward. Dominic fought every step, contested custody, demanded DNA tests, claimed Grace was an unfit mother. Castellano threw every legal trick at them. But Margaret was better, and they had evidence Castellano couldn't overcome. 16 camera angles, audio recordings, medical documentation, police reports from Dominic's violations. The judge wasn't impressed with Dominic's denials. Temporary custody went to Grace. Dominic got supervised visitation rights, 2 hours a week with a court-appointed monitor. He never showed up, not once. Claimed his schedule was too demanding. Claimed the supervision was humiliating. Claimed Grace was poisoning Charlotte against him. In reality, Dominic didn't want to be a father. He wanted to own Grace, control her, punish her for leaving. Charlotte was just leverage, and when the leverage didn't work, he lost interest. That hurt worse than the abuse somehow. The realization that Dominic didn't actually love Charlotte, didn't actually want to be her father, just wanted to win. But Grace wouldn't let that poison her. Wouldn't let Dominic's rejection of their daughter become Charlotte's burden. Charlotte would know she was loved, chosen, wanted by Grace and Richard and Harper and everyone who actually showed up. That was enough. The media attention faded eventually. New scandals replaced the Ashford drama. New billionaires behaved badly. The world moved on. Grace started receiving letters, hundreds at first, then thousands, women sharing their stories, survivors saying Grace's courage helped them leave, daughters thanking her for showing them what strength looked like. The letters overwhelmed her, each one a reminder that her pain had purpose. Her story mattered. Her choice to leave saved more than just herself and Charlotte. She started replying, short notes, words of encouragement, resources. It helped, made the nightmare feel worthwhile. Harper suggested starting a foundation, using Richard's settlement money to help other women, provide legal resources, safe housing, job training, everything Grace had that most survivors didn't. We could call it the Charlotte Foundation, Harper said. Name it after the reason you left, the reason you fought. Grace loved the idea, started planning. Richard offered to help. Eleanor volunteered to serve on the board. Margaret provided pro bono legal services. Slowly, Grace's life stopped being about Dominic, stopped being about survival, started being about purpose, healing, building something good from something terrible. The Connecticut house became home, really home. Not a safe house, not temporary shelter. Home. Grace painted the nursery pale yellow, hung curtains, built a life that was hers. Nothing designer, nothing expensive, just comfortable, real, safe. Her mother visited monthly, helped with Charlotte, taught Grace about being a mother, about balancing protection and freedom, about raising a daughter who would never accept less than she deserved. Grace started therapy, real therapy, not couples counseling where Dominic manipulated the narrative. Individual sessions where Grace could be honest, work through trauma, understand how she'd stayed so long, forgive herself for not leaving sooner. The therapist told her something that stuck. You left when you were ready. Some people never leave. Some people die trying. You left. That's what matters. Grace repeated that on hard days, when guilt crept in, when shame whispered that she should have known better, should have seen the signs, should have protected herself sooner. She left when she was ready. That was enough. Mirror technique moment. Grace takes Charlotte to the pediatrician for her 2-month checkup. The waiting room is full of mothers, all types, all backgrounds, all struggling with the same fears. Is my baby eating enough? Sleeping enough? Growing properly? Grace realizes she's not special, not unique, just another mother doing her best, and somehow that's comforting. Being normal, being ordinary, being enough exactly as she is. Dominic sent a letter when Charlotte was 3 months old. Not directly, through his lawyer, appropriate channels. Following the restraining order, the letter said he was sorry, that he'd been in therapy, that he'd changed, that he wanted to be part of Charlotte's life. Grace read it once, gave it to Margaret. Let her respond. The response was simple. If Dominic wanted contact with Charlotte, he could petition the court, provide proof of sustained change, therapy records, completion of anger management, a year of demonstrated stability, then maybe, the court would consider supervised visitation. Dominic never followed up. The letter was just another manipulation, another attempt to control. When it didn't work, he moved on. Grace heard through Eleanor that Dominic had moved to Europe, Monaco, living off money from Natalie, who'd divorced Richard and taken her settlement. $50 million, enough to support her son's lifestyle indefinitely. Natalie chose Dominic over Richard, over Charlotte, over reality. Richard never mentioned her, signed the divorce papers without contest, divided assets fairly, moved on. 30 years, he told Grace once. I thought I knew her, thought we shared values. Turns out we didn't. She chose protecting Dominic over holding him accountable. I can't respect that. Can't live with someone who'd enable abuse. Grace understood. Some relationships couldn't survive fundamental disagreements. Some partnerships ended when you realized you didn't share the same morality. Better to end it than live a lie. The divorce finalized when Charlotte was 4 months old. Judge's ruling was comprehensive. Full custody to Grace. Child support ordered but uncollected since Dominic had no income. Supervised visitation rights that Dominic never exercised. The marriage was over. Officially, legally, permanently. Grace thought she'd feel different, relieved, victorious, free. Instead, she just felt tired and grateful and ready to move forward. Validation. Whisper, I'm not sad he's gone. I'm sad I wasted 3 years on someone who never existed. But those 3 years gave me Charlotte, taught me strength, showed me who I really am. So maybe they weren't wasted. Maybe they were necessary. At Charlotte's 6-month checkup, a woman approached Grace in the parking lot. Are you Grace Ashford? Grace tensed, ready to run, call security, protect Charlotte. I'm sorry, the woman said quickly. I don't mean to scare you. I just wanted to say thank you. I saw the security footage. Read your story. It helped me leave. I've been gone 3 months now. My daughter and I are safe. Because of you. She walked away before Grace could respond, but Grace stood there, Charlotte in her arms, crying, not sad tears, grateful tears. Her nightmare had helped someone. Her pain had purpose. That meant something. That meant everything. 2 years later, Charlotte was walking, talking, filling the Connecticut house with laughter and chaos and sticky fingerprints on everything. Grace ran the Charlotte Foundation full-time, staff of 6. Offices in the extra bedrooms. They'd helped 300 women in 2 years, provided legal aid, housing assistance, job training, everything necessary to rebuild lives after abuse. Grace spoke at fundraisers, gave interviews, became an advocate, not because she wanted fame, because she had a platform, a story, resources most survivors never got. She couldn't waste that. Her TED Talk had 10 million views. The security footage that saved my life. 18 minutes of raw honesty about staying, about leaving, about the shame and fear and unexpected strength of starting over. Women wrote to her daily. Thousands of messages. Me too. You gave me courage. I left because of you. Grace answered as many as she could, but mostly she focused on Charlotte, raising a daughter who would never think abuse was normal, who would never accept violence, who would know her worth from the beginning. Richard was 74 now, slowing down. He'd passed CEO responsibilities to new leadership, spent his time with Charlotte instead of boardrooms. Sunday mornings were theirs, making pancakes, his recipe. Charlotte measured ingredients with serious concentration, tongue between her teeth, determined to get it right. When you're old, Grandpa, I'll make pancakes for you, Charlotte announced. I'm already old, sweetheart. No, when you're really old, like 100. Richard laughed, didn't tell her he probably wouldn't make it to 100, just enjoyed the moment. the simple joy of teaching his granddaughter to make pancakes. Eleanor had retired from Ashford Industries, joined the Charlotte Foundation's board, used 3 decades of corporate knowledge to build something that actually mattered. "I spent my career enabling powerful men," she told Grace once. "Time to tear down those systems instead." Harper got married, a kind man named Marcus who treated her like an equal. The wedding was at Grace's house. Small, intimate, real. Charlotte was the flower girl, 2 years old and completely stealing the show. Grace watched Harper say her vows, watched Marcus look at her with genuine love. No masks, no performance, just honest affection. That's what love looked like. Grace knew that now, knew the difference between love and control, between partnership and ownership, between respect and fear. She'd learned it the hard way, but she'd learned it. Grace started dating again eventually, carefully, slowly. Every man was suspect at first. Every kind gesture felt like manipulation. Therapy helped. Time helped. Charlotte helped. Daniel Foster was a high school teacher. English literature, patient, kind. Understood Grace's history without making it define her. "I'm not here to fix you," he said early on. "I'm here to know you, to be with you. No fixing required." That was the difference. Dominic wanted to fix her, control her, make her into his ideal. Daniel just wanted to know her as she was, messy and complicated, and healing. They dated for a year before Grace introduced him to Charlotte, another year before he moved in. They didn't marry. Grace wasn't ready, maybe never would be. Marriage felt like ownership, like giving up autonomy. Daniel accepted that. "We don't need a piece of paper. We just need each other." Grace appreciated that, appreciated someone who understood boundaries, who respected her pace, who let her define what their relationship looked like. 5 years after the wedding where everything changed, Charlotte started first grade. 6 years old, confident, kind, smart, showing no signs of trauma. Therapy helped, love helped, stability helped. Grace was 35 now, running a national foundation, raising an amazing daughter, dating a good man, living a life she'd built from scratch, a life that was hers. Richard called one Sunday morning, his voice serious. "I'm updating my will. Charlotte is the primary beneficiary, substantial trust, accessible at a 25. I'm also establishing a $10 million perpetual trust for the Charlotte Foundation." "Richard, you don't need to. You saved my legacy, the real legacy, not the company, not the money, the values, the character. Charlotte is proof that doing the right thing matters. Let me secure your work." Grace's eyes filled. This man, this unexpected ally, who chose right over easy, who lost his son and wife and carefully built family unity, who never regretted it. "Thank you," she said, "for everything, for seeing me, for believing me. Thank you for being strong enough to leave. Not everyone can." They hung up. Grace looked around her house, her real home. Photos of Charlotte covering every surface, art projects stuck to the fridge, toys scattered across the floor, the beautiful chaos of a life well lived. She thought about that night at Meredith's wedding. 5 years ago, the slap that changed everything. She didn't regret the marriage. It gave her Charlotte, taught her strength, showed her who she really was beneath the fear and ego. But she didn't miss it either, not for a second. Her phone buzzed, a text from a woman who attended the Charlotte Foundation seminar last week. "I left today, packed while he was at work. Your story gave me courage. Thank you." Grace texted back immediately. "You gave yourself courage. I'm just proud of you. You are going to be okay." Because she would be okay. They all would be. Everyone who left. Everyone who chose themselves. Everyone who decided they deserved better. Grace was proof of that. Charlotte ran in from the backyard, grass-stained and sweaty and completely happy. "Mommy, look what I found." She held up a caterpillar. "Can we keep it? Can we watch it turn into a butterfly?" Grace smiled. "We can keep it. Watch it change. Watch it grow wings. Watch it fly away when it's ready." "Why does it fly away?" "Because that's what butterflies do. They transform. They become something new. They don't stay caterpillars forever. Charlotte considered this seriously. Are you a butterfly, mommy? Grace thought about it, about transformation, about growth, about becoming someone new. Yeah, baby, I think I am. She was a butterfly, had been a caterpillar once, trapped, limited, crawling through life. Then she transformed, found wings, learned to fly, and she'd never go back. Final mirror technique moment. Grace tucked Charlotte into bed that night. Their ritual. Tell me about Grandpa's pancakes. Charlotte giggles. He let me crack the eggs today. I got shells in it. Grace laughs. Did he mind? Nope. He said that's what makes them special. Grace kisses her daughter's forehead, realizes this is the life she fought for. These tiny moments, these ordinary, beautiful, peaceful moments. This is what winning looks like. Not revenge, not justice, just peace. The security footage from that wedding existed somewhere archived. Evidence. Grace hadn't watched it in 5 years. Didn't need to. She'd lived it, survived it, transcended it. Sometimes reporters asked for interviews, wanted her to rehash the trauma, wanted details about Dominic, wanted drama. Grace declined most. Agreed to some if they focused on survival instead of victimhood. What would you say to women in similar situations, they always asked. Grace's answer never changed. You know your situation better than anyone. You know if it's safe to leave, you know what you need. Trust yourself and know that leaving isn't failing. Leaving is winning. You're reclaiming your life. That's not defeat. That's victory. She meant it. Every word. Charlotte's voice floated from her bedroom. Mommy, can you sing the butterfly song? Grace returned to Charlotte's room, sat on the edge of the bed, started singing, the lullaby she'd learned from her mother, the one she'd stopped singing when Dominic said it annoyed him. She sang it now, loud, clear, unashamed. Charlotte's eyes drifted closed, peaceful, safe, loved. Grace sat there long after Charlotte fell asleep, watched her daughter breathe, marveled at the life they'd built, the peace they'd found. 5 years ago, Dominic's hand had connected with her face at a society wedding. Today, Grace held everything that mattered. Her daughter, her freedom, her self-respect, her purpose. She'd chosen herself, and in doing so, saved them both. Final validation. Whisper. I finally understand that the prison door had been unlocked all along. I was my own warden, but not anymore. Now I'm free, we're free, and every day I choose us again. That's the real victory. Not defeating Dominic, just choosing ourselves. Every single day. The house settled into nighttime quiet, Charlotte asleep, Daniel downstairs reading, Grace's mother arriving tomorrow for a visit, her chosen family surrounding her, protecting her, loving her. Grace walked to the window, looked out at the Connecticut stars. So different from the city lights of the penthouse. So much brighter here, so much clearer. She thought about the woman in the parking lot, the women who wrote letters, the survivors who found courage in her story. Her nightmare had become their hope. That was legacy, not money, not the Ashford name, just one woman's courage inspiring another. Chain reaction of strength. Women saving women. Grace smiled, touched the window glass, whispered to herself and to every woman who'd ever been afraid to leave, "You're going to be okay. We're all going to be okay." And she believed it, completely. So Grace got her freedom, Charlotte got her safety, and Dominic learned that money can't buy immunity from consequences. If this story resonated with you, if you know someone who needed to hear it, or if you've ever had to choose yourself over fear, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It tells me these stories matter. Drop a comment, tell me what you thought. Share your own story if you're comfortable. This community is built on courage, and your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you want more stories like this, stories about regular people facing impossible choices and finding unexpected strength, subscribe, turn on notifications, because I've got more stories to tell. Stories that remind us we're not alone. Stories that prove leaving isn't losing, it's winning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, if you're in a situation like Grace's, you deserve better. You deserve safety, and you deserve to choose yourself. The number for the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-79-972-33. They're available 24/7. You're not alone. I'll see you in the next story. Take care of yourselves.